Joining me now in our studio is a woman that is no stranger to the intelligence community. She brings more than 25 years of dedicated service with the CIA to her relatively new role at NGA. I'm speaking, of course, of Sue Gordon, Deputy Director for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Deputy Director Gordon, thanks so much for coming in. I know your schedule's very busy, so we appreciate you coming in and talking to us today.
I'm delighted.
So can you give our audience some idea of what you're focused on in your role as Deputy Director?
So my primary role is to help NGA achieve what we think is a very exciting vision of how we use our remarkable capabilities to address what Director Cardillo has called the seismic shift in our space. How we take our years of tradecraft and experience and apply it to a world that is exploding with potential, with the commercial capability that's available, the darkening of skies with the commercial satellites, and how we bring that, all our expertise to bear against that world. We have articulated several priorities on achieving that. My job is to help drive those home. Think of it as set a vision, and my job is to make sure that we achieve it. The moment that we face today, in terms of it is a GEOINT world where we have put the power of geography in people's hands through mobile devices. If we can harness that potential and bring our expertise, that will really make a difference in national security and international security, and that's what I hope to drive home in my job.
It's so funny because you're talking about two pieces, the vision piece and the execution, and
Right.
both are tough and both are very
Right.
important.
Right. So it doesn't matter what we say we're going to do. It only matters what we actually accomplish. And I think our biggest driver right now is just how fast technology is evolving, how complex the world's challenges are. So to be able to execute swiftly, to deliver our capability, to really bring it home in the moment so that our partners, our customers can really have the power of GEOINT, the context that it provides for their challenges, and deliver the consequence that they need.
So how is NGA promoting the industry-agency relationship?
So first, what I'd say is there just isn't any future for us if we are not inextricably bound with our industrial partners. The innovation that's going on technologically and from a service perspective and an analytic perspective that's going on commercially has got to be part of our future. We are lucky that we have a history that is replete with a variety of industrial partners. What we're trying to do is to be more accessible to more partners than just those who have historically helped us achieve the great accomplishments of the past. What we have done is we have identified a specific industry advocate and named him as the interlocutor to say, we want to get our message to all the companies, and we want them to be able to reach us without having to try and figure out the inner workings of NGA. But we recognize that a front end, being able to reach us, isn't only an important part. We're trying to redesign how we actually adopt new capabilities and new technologies much more quickly for good purpose. The other thing we're trying to do is we're trying to share the whole range of our challenges, from what we need to do substantively, but also the business processes that we would like to develop so that our partners can help us not only in what we're trying to do, but how we're trying to do it.
I understand the NGA now is focusing on transparency, but can you tell us what that means?
The way I think of it is so many of the challenges that the national security and international security environment are facing are not only the purview of the traditional military and national security communities. If I give a couple of examples of the recent Ebola crisis or the earthquake in Nepal, you can imagine how the World Health Organization, how first responders could really benefit from the information and analysis that we are able to do on not only the foundational geospatial information, but also how we are able to put that information together to reveal really useful information. And those communities are not the traditional national security communities that we also serve, but typically have a more closed access point to be relevant for disasters, for humanitarian relief. We have got to make ourselves as accessible as we can, and our products and our content as accessible as it is. So we've had some successes. We want to have more. We're actually, I think, the first intelligence community organization that has an app on in the iTunes App Store, and it's an anti-piracy application. So just trying to bring what we have to bear on the whole range of crises and issues that the world face.
In what other ways is NGA promoting industry innovation?
So there are a couple activities that I think are really exciting. The first is we've begun a thing called GEOINT Solutions Marketplace, or GSM, and that really is exactly what the name says. It is a marketplace, virtual, where companies, large businesses, small businesses, can introduce their ideas into our environment so that we can really see what they have and do some matchmaking between the people in our organization that have the challenges and the people that have the solutions potentially, and they're just waiting to match up. Right now, where we are is really just in that identification and exposure of the ideas. Where we really want to go is to create almost a sandbox where you can actually try some of those solutions against our environment and against our data to really see that it's a fit, with the whole intention of both introducing new ideas but also reducing time by knowing that the ideas that are out there are really going to be a fit for what we're trying to do. The second one is entirely different, and it's called Pathfinder, and that's where we've set up almost an experiment where we're looking to see what is possible only with unclassified data. Using unclassified tools, our analysts, but they're really going to be looked to see what kind of questions, what type of intelligence questions they can answer using only unclassified means. And it's going to be in the open. It will involve partners from universities, hopefully other government entities, and it's not really a technology-focused activity, it's a thought process-focused activity. How do we think differently about using this explosion in unclassified content to add to how we think about solving our challenges? So those two activities are kind of on two ends of the spectrum, one technology, one almost methodology, but I think the combination of the two is really going to help us think differently and more expansively about all the tools that are available to us in order to contribute to the world.
Recently, your boss, who you brought up, Director Robert Cardillo, announced GEOINT services as an agency priority with you as the leading advocate. What does that mean other than you don't get any sleep now? And how do you make NGA products more accessible and easier for customers to use?
I think of GEOINT services really simply, and that is, how do we expose our content? And by our content, I mean the whole geospatial enterprise. How do we expose our content in a way that it can be used? Nothing more complex than that. What makes it complex is, well, what is data? You know, what is the expanse of the data that we want to expose? Because historically that lives in silos, and the ways that it was acquired was different, and it's cordoned off, and it's accessible by some, but you have to have the right application and the right software, and so you just can't get the whole breadth out there. We want to expose that. The second thing is, well, how do you make it useful? What are the services that you can apply so that two things can happen? Number one, we provide some common services so that anyone who wants to interact with that data in a certain way, we're going to provide a common service. But if you want to do something special with our content, if you have an exquisite need, then you're going to be able to interact with our content according to the way you want to use it, not just the way we want to use it. So it's just an idea that takes advantage of great advances in cloud technology, open standards, this explosion in capability, and makes I think fulfills our obligation to the nation to be able to make that useful in a modern, fast way.
Did I miss anything? Is there anything
No,
out
sir.
there that you want the community to know about that you haven't touched on just yet?
I think it was back on this notion of how excited we are about how vibrant the environment is in the geospatial arena. The energy that is existent, again, because geography is cool again. Everyone thinks about what they're doing in terms of location. You cannot move without finding out where your restaurant is or where your friends are. Everything is becoming geo-referenced. Companies are investing in this like crazy. My goodness, there are companies that are talking about putting up hundreds of satellites that are going to collect data that is going to be just revolutionize how we think about understanding our planet. And what I would say is the National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency, we're not afraid of that. We are excited because it just not only opens up opportunities for what we're going to be able to use to help serve our mission for our national security customers, for our military customers, but it just is going to put pressure on all of us to keep on thinking about different ways that we can harness the power of the world to provide context for the issues of the day.
We'll leave it there. Deputy Director Gordon, it's great to catch up with you. Thanks so much for
Mike.
taking time out of your busy schedule to see us. Really
It's a
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Sue Gordon, Deputy Director of NGA. Stay tuned for more Trajectory on Location.